Hey everybody, this is Calvin Waite. I trade crypto for a living. I'm not a registered or licensed financial advisor, planner, or broker, so nothing on this channel should be taken as a recommendation to buy or sell. I also trade all of these things, so I probably have a vested interest in there. But there's plenty of entertainment value and lots of education, so this will be awesome. For those of you who didn't know, my subscription channel is live. So look at the link in the description over at cryptoinfluencers.com and you can see how I make all of my trades and what I do and what I think about everything. This channel is for more hypothetical and looking at trends, and the other one is for actual trading, so you might be interested in that. Okay, I am trying out the live stream. We are gonna see. I've just barely changed software because our other one was freezing and causing me problems. So let me know if I've done anything wrong. If it's broadcasting, that'd be awesome. But I guess I'll just start in, and then as people come, you can help me out. All right. One just final reminder: we are last day to sign up for the free channel and be entered in for the free $100 is tomorrow. So today or tomorrow, just go to cryptoinfluencers.com and click on the free channel here and just subscribe. Right now, your odds are 1 in 12. Still good odds. Hopefully, we can give some people some Christmas money right before the 25th. So that's the goal. All right, I have a thumbs up, so I'm hoping this is working. Sweet. Dougie, nice. Thanks for coming. All right, we have quite a few things. I've been thinking about all kinds of things today and had a lot on my mind. I did close a lot of shorts. I don't know if some of you saw my tweet, but I just have felt like the altcoin market, so this is the altcoin market right here. We have we've kind of had a sudden drop the other day, and we're kind of flattening. We're rounding off, flattening a bit, and I just have a suspicion that we're getting close. I feel like we're getting we're kind of bottoming a little bit, and I kind of felt like it's time to take those profits before we see whatever leg up happens. So I'm not necessarily feeling like taking a ton of new longs, not yet, but I am seeing a change in momentum, and we'll see if that's that's true or not. So there's quite an interesting thing happening, and I don't like to see this. Sweet, James, welcome, and the Garrett Group, nice. Thank you for joining me here. We're looking at the S&P going up 1.5%. So we're getting quite a move to the upside on S&P, and Bitcoin and Ethereum are just struggling a little bit. I think we flip-flopped from yesterday though, because yesterday we had a really strong green day and the S&P was down. So I mean, if we just break away and don't care about the S&P, that'd be great. But I know that there are macroeconomic conditions that play into whether people have money to invest and whatnot. So it's all kind of a mix. Thank you, Garrett Group. That's awesome. All right, so we're going to talk a little bit more about everything and see where we go from here. I kind of, just talking about macroeconomic conditions, I kind of wanted to start there today. If we look at the S&P, I have felt like we're, I knew we were going to drop off touching these resistance, the 200 and the this downward sloping resistance here. We've been finding some resistance, but you know what? I kind of think that there's a change. There's something unusual happening in the market, and I figure it may impact Bitcoin, and so let's talk about it. This is what I wanted to talk about. So I'm going to go out. I'm going to go to a weekly chart, and we're going to go way back into the past. I'm going to change my I'm going to go from candles to a line chart, and I want to point out how markets normally behave, especially on downturns. So you see how we climbed up to our top, and then we pulled back, and then the next thing we did is when we kind of struggled back up, we found we passed off our support and found it as resistance. And usually the most recent one is the most powerful. It can be one in the past as long as it's really, really important. But when we're kind of making our way down into a bear market, you'll see a lot of handoffs between support and resistance. So this was a pretty clean move to the downside. This support here became resistance here. And then we dropped pretty good. And then here we had this resistance played off of this support. And then we kind of pulled back. And then we kind of had a fake out situation where normally, had we closed below here, we would have continued. We would have normally seen a continuation. We had a pass though. We passed through, and this would have been a little difficult to read. It wouldn't be until we lost this point that we can see that we're still falling. And then we kind of finished it off with this resistance. We played around down here, but when the bottom was in, you can see how our support and our resistance mismatched. Like we didn't have a perfect handoff. We didn't go from support to resistance, and it flipped hands. We had a handoff, and then we continued down. We had a period where we went, we crossed the supports, we crossed the resistance, and we kind of went sideways. So this period was kind of it was a similar period where our high and our low didn't match up very well. So this would have been a little tricky to read, but by now you can tell that we're moving sideways and we're moving out. So it's almost like we had a practice stopping point, and then we had the real stopping point, and then of course the market recovered and things went on from there. Well, the next time we had a similar move in the markets was here, and you can see how we finally hit our top and pulled back. Our support here became our resistance here, and then we dropped pretty good. We came back and found resistance at this support, and so then we fall back, and then here we have another handoff of resistance where support was there before. Then we had a giant drop, so this got all kinds of wild, and we didn't see we didn't have a handoff here, and by the time that happened, this was our first pass. So this resistance was not this support. So we went sideways, and you could start getting the sense that we're pretty close. We had one final capitulation, and then we were out of the woods. So once we start seeing a pass in the markets, things are starting to clean up. Now let's go look at the current situation. And you can see that something isn't quite right here. So we have an obvious bottom here, obvious bottom here. Where was our resistance? It was very clean right here. So we did find our resistance here. But then the next time we came up for resistance, we missed this by quite a bit. There might be more of a tale to tell to say that we hit it here. But then what were we doing making a higher high in the middle of this? And then when we hit our bottom, or even this bottom, we should have seen a resistance. And we made an attempt here, but we've pulled back up. So this chart is really messy. It's really messy. It's not clean at all. And our supports and resistances are all over the map. I've seen things on news where the put call ratio is the highest it's ever been. That means retail traders are going short in our market more than ever before. And I kind of feel like this is a really risky market. It's really hard to read, in other words. I mean, we can catch some of these big moves here, But as far as, saying, as far as having structure in place to say, oh yeah, we're totally resisting, we're still pulling down. We only had this one move where we had support flip to resistance here, and now this whole thing has been kind of a jumbled mess, and it's been sort of sideways. And so this isn't a clear, clean cut downside. We certainly haven't seen anything close to a gap where we were flipping from support and resistance and moving through these levels, and then we just dropped off. And maybe it's still coming. You know what I mean? Like I can't say, how everything is going to play out every time, but it's definitely weird. It doesn't feel like we've really found a direction yet, even though we are bearish. I'm just not so sure if we are going to continue going sideways from here now, or whatever, because by the time we were doing our kind of sideways consolidations, or here, we were either near the bottom or we were at the bottom. And so here, we didn't see the sideways consolidation until we were at the bottom. We were right here. And so to have this really messy situation where we're not really following the rules means that there's a lot of retail traders getting massacred in here. And it makes me nervous when all of the retail traders agree that we're going down. Banks don't like to give away money, and when they're writing the puts and calls, they could keep things in a sideways thing for a while. They've got money to push things around, and there's a lot of actors in the markets that make me, it feels very manipulated. That was sort of when I did my master's degree in finance, and I talked to some people running different hedge funds that really had some insight into how Wall Street operates. It's a dirty business, and I just didn't really have the. I just wasn't interested in making rich people richer. I was more interested in kind of making my own way and seeing if I could kind of help the smaller people understand how markets work and things like that. So, all right. Let's see. We're going to go. Let me just check and make sure I didn't miss any comments here. Go Sia coin. Did you bite? Okay, cool. Made a math error and got liquidated last week. Now I'm looking to get back on the horse and set up some longs, but every day I look at the charts and I just can't do it. Yeah. So there is. So yeah. Anyway, this is kind of the commentary I wanted to make about the current state of the macro markets. As far as, yeah, it's a tough market, and when I'm gonna head over to the DXY. So when the DXY was really flying, so here's another macroeconomic comparison here. Let's just put everything in. Let's see, we need to get all right, well, yeah, I guess it's hard to match Bitcoin perfectly with the DXY because it's not open every day. I think maybe we'll move to the weekly. That'll be a little cleaner. All right, so the DXY and Bitcoin. Here we go. Now we've got more data. These tend to move in opposition. And what this means is that if the dollar's strong, that means that we're in a risk-off period where people are putting more money into cash, and they're usually taking profits, pulling money out of the markets. But when the dollar gets weaker, it's where they're investing. They're investing in companies, and they have a little bit more disposable income. They don't want to just hold cash because it's losing its value, so they'd rather hold assets. And so what's interesting is that over the course of time, when the DXY, which is the dollar currency index, when it starts showing a lot of strength, you can see my crosshairs on my chart here. They're a little better lined up. You can see kind of when we were back in 2015 or 14 when we were having our Bitcoin bear market, you could see that the dollar was actually strengthening. This is not something that I ever watched back then. But once the dollar kind of levels off, Bitcoin was able to sort of level off. And then as it becomes more stable, we start running. And in fact, when the dollar loses strength, so up here, you can see the chart dropping down here, you can see how the strength of Bitcoin increased, and it kind of hit its peak right during the last section of where the dollar was weakening. And then as the dollar is strengthening, that's when we had our 2018 bear market. So if I zoom in a little more, we had a weakening period where the dollar dropped back down all the way to about May. And so this drop here coincided with Bitcoin's rise here. And there was kind of a pretty decent correlation happening. The second move here was almost, we've kind of now discovered that this was an Alameda FTX creation. So markets acted a little odd. They both went up in unison. But as the DXY really strengthened, you can see how Bitcoin has dropped off. Well, now we're in a situation where the DXY is dropping pretty rapidly. And Bitcoin is leveling off, but it's not perfect. But it does make you think that where are these dollars going? I don't really think they're going into. I mean, they're kind of. I mean, you can see this move up in the equities market definitely coincides, but it certainly doesn't match everything. So I'm not sure if this has more. It'll need more time to flush out. But when a chart goes from green to yellow, this is definitely a period of time where we're probably seeing a continuation. And so, yeah, because see, look, here's green to yellow in the DXY. We had some period of down. This was quite a period of downside. And then green to yellow here, it was definitely a period of downside. So I think we're in for some more weakness in the dollar, which means that you would expect some of that to flow over into either the normal markets or into crypto. And this is so dramatic that it's hard to say. It makes me nervous for all of the retail that are buying puts like crazy, because it's hard to say whether we really will get a fall. And I've kind of had my suspicions. You know, I knew that that Bitcoin was going to drop pretty good. Let me grab my. Okay, so here's the S&P. I knew that the S&P, excuse me, was going to get rejected off of this, but the monthly is coming up for support. We have a 200-week moving average that we have respected, and when we respect something, it becomes more important to traders in the next move. Hey, thanks, Michael, and Local Liquid, awesome. I'll get your question soon. But yeah, you can kind of see that there's some things happening in the markets that aren't all negative. When you look at pure news, all you get is we're in for a year-long recession. Unemployment is gonna break everyone's back, and everything's gonna blow up in our faces. And I guess I kind of would rather look and see what the markets are doing rather than what the news is saying, because the news is going to paint the most bleak picture possible to sell clicks and views. And the markets are pricing in all of that information. So as markets are moving, every day they're making a decision on all information that's available, sentiment, expectation, including news, everything. So when the news is terrible, 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 and the markets are showing strength, it kind of tells you that the bad news is already priced in. So what else are you going to do? And so you kind of have to take a step back and not get quite so sucked into the emotions of the market, and really kind of look at it from, you kind of have to almost plug your ears and look at the evidence that we're seeing play out. We have, when COVID happened, and there should have been no reason for the markets to continue, and it did. Of course, the government was printing money like crazy and handing out money hand over fist, which is why we're in this kind of difficult spot that we are. But you can tell that for political reasons and other reasons, markets may not behave the way they should because they can be manipulated. And one other piece to kind of put this my points to rest. The most recent, let me see if on a monthly view it's a little more visible. Yeah. So look at the monthly chart on the S&P. Here we had an absolute perfect flip from resistance. And then when we finally went through this COVID thing, we came up and established this little high. And then we came back and found support where we had resistance. So this is on the monthly. And now we've moved up without a stop. So our only resistance is up here. So where are we going to find support? Well, on a monthly chart, it kind of cuts out a lot of the noise. There are bounces and all kinds of things in here. But where would you expect a market to retreat to? It would be to where the most recent support was. And we know that this is a resistance flipping to support because we had a confirmation here. And so this point is still in play. It was the one prior to our flip that is still untested and untouched. And so as we've come up, we've come down, and now look at this. This wick here from our October candle has confirmed the handoff between resistance and support here. And so now the next move should be, where's our resistance? I don't know, like way up here maybe. Like this is like, it's hard to read because there was no stopping point. And it's almost like this is our first move down. And so what will really answer the question is how do we behave over the next period? Do we climb up to this top here and then reject? Or do we get to the middle and then we reject? And then if we return to this level, then we're in trouble. But right here, I still show, there's actually a fairly bullish case still on the table here. So anyway, I'm markets will behave however they behave, but just from a technical chartist standpoint, it doesn't seem like the chart is following the news. Not really well. So I'm always taking things with a grain of salt. All right, so let's head back over to Bitcoin and just talk about a few things here. So Bitcoin is coming up on not only a monthly close but a yearly close, and we're going to look at everything. But look at this monthly close. We have had a very quiet December so far. We have 10 days left, so it's not like the month is over or anything like that, but it's hard to find in history a quieter month. Like the difference between our high and our low is only $2,000. So this candle here, there was a difference between high and low. This was 3,000. So the 3,000 was the spread here, and our candle body was a little larger. If you go back into history, you can't find one. This is our tightest candle body, but the wicks were pretty large. You'd have to go back, yeah, high and low. This one's 2,000. So you'd have to go back to August of 2020 to find a candle that's as quiet as this. And so it's very interesting, especially at the, what's the order of operations when you're changing momentum. You start up here where you're really exuberant, all of the energy and excitement in the markets, and then you start dropping off, and it's hard to believe, and so you get a little bit more confirmation, and then you get to a point here where you're like, okay, there's a significant change here. We haven't put in a new high. We definitely dropped back. There's a level here that we're revisiting. Now people are starting to get scared. The smart people are getting out, and creates this situation. And then there's the full-on panic where retail just loses their mind and they all just sell like crazy. And now we've had a sideways consolidation for quite a while. And then most recently with the FTX move down, we kind of had our final throws. So I look at this chart and I really see a decrease in downward momentum. And this was almost, this was sort of a black swan in my mind. And now we're having this really quiet December. And I actually feel like we're showing a little bit of support on the daily. And I kind of feel like maybe that will play out. If we pull up to where our open was at 17,150, we could have the absolute perfection of a reversal month right here. And this could be a mover. This could really change the complete sentiment. So I've kind of been thinking that we will find whatever bottom that Bitcoin has, especially when you're looking at it from a 4-year cycle standpoint. We're probably going to find this bottom in the winter. We're going to see it in the winter of this year, I'm betting. And the reason is because retail is going to miss it. And retail is going to wake up and want to spend money and be more emotional, happier, looking for, a little more free with their money in the spring. I think spring and summer, I think there's kind of an emotional shift that happens. And so I think that the bottom is going to happen, or at least the reversal and a significant show of strength is going to happen in the winter when nobody's really watching. So kudos to all of you guys for for being here and watching. But this is very quiet, and a quiet at the end of a raging storm is grounds for a reversal. So I think I really feel like we're getting close. Yeah, especially when we had another drop off and we didn't have a complete meltdown. If we'd have had a large candle body like this, like that would have been like, oh, whoa, there's still a lot of emotion in the market still. There's a lot of people that are, still scared and ready to run. But the fact that this candle is much lower, much less intense, and now we're even less intense, it's going to take a very small green January to start changing things. So anyway, looking at that, let's take a look at the yearly. Actually, let's look at, we could do quarterly really quick, see if there's anything to see. Yeah, so quarterly, maybe I can hide all my stuff. We'll just look at it. Yeah, quarterly is interesting. This is definitely the first time we've lost the 20. We had support here during the COVID crash, but we really haven't touched it. And so here was a potential move. This could have been support, but FTX and everything is all baked into this candle. Yeah, I don't feel like we completely switch sides and fully move to the downside, unless a few years from now we have a hard time recouping this top. Then we could really be in for a complete paradigm shift again. But yeah, I feel like we're seeing a slow of momentum even on the quarterly. Let's take a look at the 6-month. Yeah, so on the 6-month, a couple things. There's a bullish engulfing here, and it led to some pretty awesome things. We had a bullish engulfing here. This moved us to the upside. The only bearish engulfing candle that we've ever seen on the 6-month happened January to June of this year, and that should spell a month or two. That should spell a candle or two to the downside. So we're getting red from that. In the next 6 months, I bet we start flattening out. It's very uncommon for Bitcoin to show very many red candles in a row. I mean, it's possible. I mean, it really is possible, but yeah, it would be unusual to see that. And then finally the year. So yeah, year, it's interesting. I mean, the temperature has changed. You can see how there was such a huge gap between this resistance and this support. And now we've flipped from resistance to support, and our wicks have crossed. So if we ever have an experience where we have candle bodies cross, there could be a paradigm shift in the works. But interesting stuff. It's fun to look at. All right. Any thoughts on a correlation of the price of oil to manipulation or to the manipulation of the price of the dollar by Fed raising or dropping rates? Could we see Bitcoin when Bitcoin will run bullish based on oil price? I haven't really looked at oil prices. Let's see. Let's see. You guys might have to help me out. What's the best one to look at? Let me just do a quick. Is it BBL? Yeah, I'm not entirely sure, like which chart you'd go for that. We'll see. I'll try one of these. I'm not sure which one to look for. Okay. Tell me if this is the wrong thing, but yeah. So oil's going to factor into the price of inflation. If oil prices are rising, inflation is going to be rising. If inflation is rising, then Fed is going to raise interest rates, and it'll be kind of a cascading effect. But usually in the winter, prices cool off. I know that I've seen on the news where Russia's been, I think 50% of their output was cut because of the European Union's limit of $60 per barrel on their oil, and so they weren't selling very much. It's pretty messy. I don't know how much this will impact. I kind of feel like the raising of rates is going to impact Bitcoin more than anything. And so if oil is contributing, if strong oil prices contribute to higher inflation, it could spell a little bit of trouble for Bitcoin, because we have seen where, when we see these FOMC meetings that look like this, yeah, see how this was just so volatile. The second anything comes out about rates or whatever, anything having to do with interest rates and things like that, the market just goes insane. And so because of that, we can tell that Bitcoin is being driven by the emotions and speculation involved in the broader markets, and especially anything having to do with inflation and the Feds and all of that. But I also think that if you give Bitcoin the right chart structure, it'll surprise us. Bitcoin is that's the one thing I've discovered over the past 10 years of trading Bitcoin, is it's just full of surprises. You get things in the right place, and things can pop and they can drop without much warning. So I still have a little bit more to talk about on the daily, but let's get a few more of these questions. Finally got to see you live again. Cool. Usually at work. Awesome. Thanks, Acor. Appreciate that. Merry Christmas to you as well. Okay, so basically when oil is expensive, Fed drops rates. When it's cheap, dollars are more expensive. So oil being expensive, they would drop rates. I guess it just depends on how, if it's if it's playing into inflation. That's kind of the way I'm kind of reading it. Oh, CL1 is it? Okay, sorry. Yeah, you can tell I do a ton of. Yeah, let's take a look at CL. Okay, so here's the one. Yeah, so oil has been dropping quite a bit here, 2022, and yeah, interesting. So if I put this next to the S&P, I guess it has trended together. Oil prices rising with the S&P, and then the S&P fell apart, and then oil dropped a little bit. I don't know. I'm not sure if I see a really strong correlation. And then let's compare that to Bitcoin and see if there's anything there. Yeah, it's almost two different markets. I think that there are some macroeconomic things that'll kind of come into play, but it's almost like a derivative. It feels like oil impacts another thing, which impacts another thing, and then it eventually finds a common market. But yeah, I don't think I would be too worried about oil changing Bitcoin's outlook. Okay, all right. Let's look at this. I wanted to point out something that's happening. I've been watching the 50 drop, and this is the same thing that happened back here when we had our really strong drop in Bitcoin, and we started moving sideways. The longer we can consolidate sideways, the better the chances of our averages dropping down. And when the averages drop down, that's when a lot of the indicators can show oversold and show strength on the other side of that. And so you can see how we went sideways, and when we finally allowed our 50 to come down, we were really starting to move out. It kind of resulted in a sideways consolidation from here. But you can see how our RSI kind of lifted up and moved to the upper side of our range. Well, the 50 finally, keeps dropping, and when it gets so low that it's right next to price action. So this is why, if the FTX drop hadn't gone, I was really thinking this was our liftoff, because our 50 finally got down into the range of our price action, and we were simply consolidating sideways for so long that it was just going to take a sneeze to get above the 50, and then we're on the right side of all of our averages and we're ready to rock and roll. Well, this same exact thing is going to happen, hopefully without the black swan. And this is why I'm getting so excited, especially where we had our bullish engulfing candle at close yesterday. We have some structure in the chart that says hopefully our downside is limited. Am I worried about this red day that we're forming now? Not really, because where we have support here, resistance here that could flip to support, I feel like there's enough here to keep us going sideways for a little longer. And if we can go sideways a little longer and we have our 50 this low, it's 17,300. That is so low. And it's dropping fast, because this day, November 1st, is still playing into our 50-day average. And that price was at 20,000, almost 500. And we have a whole bunch in here that range from 20,150 to 21,300. So when these are replaced by these new lower candles, we're going to have the 50 really, really tight and really close to our price action within the next 7 days. And if we snuggle up to the 50, and especially our other averages, and we finally pop above it, this is a real chance for our bottom to be established. If we get above our 50, we can start this little takeoff, because this was absolutely perfection. We had a resistance that flipped to support here. We were just barely starting the structure to move on out. And this will replay here, hopefully without the black swan. And not only am I seeing that just from looking at the charts, but my favorite little toy, the pattern matcher, is finding the same thing. Actually, let me close really quick because I want to put in I put in today's information kind of preemptively just to see what would happen. This is our close. So this was our bullish engulfing close, and it matches closest with 2015. And I don't know if you guys have noticed out there, but there have been quite a lot of commentary about the 2015 bottom. So here we are, nice move to the downside, a little bump. We finally get a bullish engulfing, and we start moving. So this whole structure was looking really good. What was our expected outcome? We were expecting a slightly red day because the majority of these data points, we're still consolidating sideways, and where we have a strong move, it's okay to kind of recover and put a little bit of support before we continue moving. So I'm actually curious to see what tomorrow brings. That's kind of the day that I think we might start seeing some good moves to the upside. But I just barely put in our daily information. I'll put in the exact price right now, just as if we were to close here, and we can kind of do some sensitivity analysis to see what may happen if this plays out. And what day are we looking most similar to? It's October 12th of 2022, this year. This is the exact chart that I'm pointing at. So October 12th is this day here, where we've had a significant drop. We finally had a little bit of consolidation, and on the 12th here, we just experienced a little bit of a rise and then a fall. So that's exactly what we've done: a rise and a fall. In fact, not only does it match, as far as sentiment goes, but look at how we rejected off the 50. So this is the time we rejected off the 50 right here, and then we finally had our little tiny, not very strong, but it was a bullish engulfing candle nonetheless. And that's the day we're pointing at, and that's exactly kind of, you can see that there's a lot of similarities. We just rejected off the 50, and now we're doing this sideways consolidation. If we can go sideways for another 7 days or whatever, it's going to be hard for us to not cross the 50. So are we getting close? Yes, we are. Are there tons of people that are screaming for much, much lower lows? Yes. And I will be on that bandwagon if we start closing in the 15,000s. If we start closing in the 15,000s, it's going to make me nervous, especially if we don't see anything upside. If we see some upside and we kind of go sideways and we see a nice big hill and then we come back down, that'll be a different thing, because a lot of this momentum will have kind of cooled off, and a move back to 16 or 15,000 would be more of a sideways rolling, establishing the bottom. And that we did back in 2015 as well. So when we were looking at 2015, look how this played out. We did kind of form sort of a bottom, and we had several attempts. Even when we were ready to move, we still pulled back and moved back into there. And I don't think that's, the sentiment here is still not that negative, because our full downward pressure was resolved already. So this move up was almost coming back to find support after we had crossed a resistance line here, and then it was able to give us a move out. And we can do that. If this takes 6 months or a year or whatever, that's fine. I just would love to see a significant move to the upside and try to match like 21,300, and then we can kind of go sideways, because the sideways move will kind of negate any further fears of a downside move, and I'll feel like the bottom's in and we're ready to rock and roll. But this is a very interesting thing. Like, we've kind of popped up and pulled back, and now we're hopefully going to go sideways. If we can go sideways, we're really going to see some good structure. And we did that here, and we were absolutely ready to rock and roll. And if we do it again, I think the second time will be the charm. So anyway, all right, I've blabbed on and on and on, but you can just tell there's a lot of little intricacies happening. There's a lot of nuance, but there's also a ton of bad news. There's a lot of things, and people, you'll say, if I say anything bullish on the markets, people are like, are you blind? Don't you realize that we're going to be in for a year-long recession and everything's going to fall apart and everything? And you know what? We might be, but I'm going to read the chart as I read the chart, and I'm gonna plug my nose, plug my nose, plug my ears to a lot of um, the mass hysteria that is the news media, and I'm going to look for where does the money, what is the money telling me? And the charts is what people are voting with their wallets when they make buys and sell decisions on a chart. And so when I see strength or support or patterns that give me some upside, it makes me more bullish. So I have closed a fair number of shorts, and I will reopen some if markets continue to show weakness. But I think we're in a situation where alts will get volatile, and I feel like it's probably okay to put some of that profits in my pocket, and then see what bounce we have on the other side of this, and then we'll kind of reevaluate and keep going. But that's where we are. All right, you guys. It's been really, really fun. It's fun to have a little more interaction with everyone. But yeah, just remind you, if you get onto the free channel over on cryptoinfluencers.com, you just register for free. One thing that I don't know if you realized, there is a chat on the free channel. So if you guys ever want to chat me directly, this is probably the best way, and I'll answer questions and help you out. As I'm kind of building out cryptoinfluencers.com, or at least my presence here, I'd be happy to, work with you guys here and all of that. Cool. Blue Sky, welcome. Will everything apart from Bitcoin be classed as security in the future? What are your thoughts? Well, that's kind of the way it's going. This is my take on the whole thing. So I don't know if some of you know this, but I've been meeting with legislators in Utah, and we're talking about how to go forward. Like, what's the way forward for crypto? How can Utah be a kind of an attractive place for crypto industry and businesses and things like that? And I was one of the co-founders of Blocks DAO, and so I've learned a lot of things from that. And I kind of feel like, and this is my personal opinion, I kind of feel like all the things that crypto is, being your own bank, storing your own funds, being able to spend them when you want and where you want. You don't have to ask a bank for permission to buy things. I think all of those things are already a Pandora's box that you just can't roll back. And so I think the things that crypto has given us are probably there. Now what is the other side of crypto? When Bitcoin started, there were a lot of people that thought it was anonymous. It's not, which is why people are really dumb to try to do illegal things with Bitcoin, because you just have a money trail no matter what you do. So Bitcoin really isn't very private. There's only one crypto that is private, and it's Monero. And all these other coins, they all have a team and a group and all these things. And the outcome of well, let me just back up and put it this way. Bitcoin was invented to kind of get away from the banks. It wasn't invented to do illegal things. It was to give people individual freedom over their money. It was to create a separation of money and state. And so if you can separate money and state, where the people have more freedom financially, it completely changes the way people behave, and it gives people an ultimate amount of freedom. And that's what was so interesting to Bitcoin for me when I learned about Bitcoin. It wasn't so that I could do something illegal or buy drugs or evade taxes or anything else, because guess what? We have to pay taxes on our Bitcoin earnings. It's part of life. And that's not going away. Bitcoin's not private, so we're not giving away any privacy by by you know trying to do every time we move Bitcoin, there's a paper trail, and so it's not private at all. Everyone can see where your money's going, and as long as they know what your wallet is, you know how much you have and everything else. It's probably the least private thing. And so the question is from a legal standpoint, when it comes to a security or whether it's not a security, how much harm is there in classifying everything as a security? Well, the harm is that there's a lot of rules that exchanges have to obey in order to offer those. So will exchanges disappear, or will they stop trading them, or will they delist everything because they're securities? That's a real legitimate threat. Like that is. But if the exchanges were legal and could handle that, let's say they put whatever they needed to, who does that protect? Does that protect the exchanges, or does that protect you and me? Actually protects you and me. It doesn't hurt my feelings. What hurts you and me is if the coins are removed from the exchanges. That hurts us, because if we don't have a market where we can get in and out of things, then suddenly the attractiveness of using it as a means of currency or exchange, it goes down, because the value is limited, the market's smaller. But if they could solve that, I'm actually fine with it. And the reason why is because it only protects you and me. Like when FTX blows up, they're trying to do all these illegal things that they probably couldn't have done if they had the correct auditors and people in place. So privacy only helps, well, it helps to a great degree. People, it kind of helps the most for founders and people that are starting an operation. Well, who should be on the hook for creating a coin or creating a project that is that's going to be rug pulled, or is going to be, that isn't going to follow through, that makes dumb decisions, that actually has control? If it's truly decentralized and there's no founder and there's no group that can change the course or the future of a coin, then no one should be on the hook. But as long as there's a person as long as there's a person or a group that is absolutely controlling the decisions that are being made and everything else, they should be on the hook for their bad decisions. If they do something stupid and tank the project, or do something illegal and get themselves sued, or do something dumb, guess who that hurts? It hurts all the people that bought in. and those people should be on the hook for it. And so I feel like I sit back and I think, what am I scared of happening if the majority of these become securities? If the founders and people that are advising have to be, ratted out and doxxed a little bit, so that people know who's going to screw them over if they flame the project and leave, I think that's a good thing. Like, I think they should. The people that are buying it and using it and things, like, I think that there should be some protections for them. I know that you kind of have to learn your own mistakes, and if you buy into something that's dumb, you should lose your money. It's just, you know what I mean? If you don't know what you're doing, and if you don't have risk management, you're just going to get wrecked, and it's not going to change. But all these people that are preaching, do your own research, how are you going to do your research if there's no, how, like, all the people that put billions of dollars into FTX, did they do research? I think they tried, but I don't think FTX was very forthcoming, and I don't think they needed to be, because the rules and regulations weren't there. So it's definitely an interesting situation. I'm sure all the rest of the OG Bitcoin people are hating me, but my thought is, if you're going to start a coin, give me a piece of paper, let me fill out who I am and what I'm planning on doing, and let me be on the hook for it until it's decentralized. The moment I own less than 20% of the coin and it's functioning on its own and whatever, it should not be a security. It should be a completely different thing. And it probably should move to commodity status or something like that, as long as, all of the, there's no manipulation that can happen in the future. But as long as a single group or a founder or whatever, a treasury or something exists, the people that are pulling, the people that own the private keys to that treasury, they should be on the hook. That's just my opinion. But I don't think it should go on forever. So that's the one mistake I think Wyoming did. Blocks, where I'm a founder, I'll be on that piece of paper forever. And I don't know how I feel about that, especially if it did reach complete decentralization. So really awesome question, Blue Sky. Really, really awesome question. But Bitcoin has no leader. It is fully decentralized. I think Ethereum's to the point where it really doesn't have a leader. There are some people that follow, Vitalik and the other founders, and they would vote with them. But I still don't think that they could do anything they wanted. And so there is a difference. But yeah, I think some of these younger projects, as long as there's a figurehead that says jump and everyone jumps, I don't think it's decentralized. And I think that founder or that leader should be on the hook for doing something manipulative or that hurts the rest of the people that are involved in the project. So, hey, Barbarian, nice to see you on here. All right, I think that's been a full solid hour. I think I figured out this software. I'm so excited. No more freezing, no more problems. It helps me relax and talk about this stuff. But we're in an interesting time. There's a lot of bad news out there. Everyone thinks that the doomers are crying pretty loudly. But I'm just seeing there are a lot of things where I'm just not on board yet. I think there's some strength in this market. And we will see how it plays out. And I'm trying to be careful on my pro channel to have, checks and balances. But if things kind of drop to the downside, I'll probably take a hedge position and let the market settle for a while. But I also think that we're on the verge, like within 7 days. If we cross the 50 within 7 days, we could be looking for some serious momentum. And it doesn't have to go straight up. I don't care about that. I just want it to stop going down. You can trade and make money all day long in a sideways market. But yeah, let's definitely cut the bleeding and get some things moving. Thanks for being here, you guys. It is awesome. I love talking about this and doing it, and doing it with friends is great. So this is awesome. I'll sign off, and I hope you guys enjoy your Christmas. I'm not sure if I'll do a live stream next week. I'll let you know in social media. All right. See everybody. Thanks for making it to the end of my video. Make sure you keep those trades small. Don't force a trade. Don't get impatient. And if you want to see how all this works, please come over and check me out on the subscription channel at cryptoinfluencers.com. Again, the link is in the description.